This is my German driving license, and it's perhaps the single best investment I've made in Germany. This thing cost me 3,500 euros, but it was definitely worth it because I can travel all across Europe with nice cars. I have much more opportunities and a lot of personal freedom. But we're not going to talk about the reasons of why to get a German driving license. In this video, I'm going to be purely talking about how to get one. So let's get right to it. In general, there are 7 steps to get your German driving license. Step number 1 is perhaps the single most important thing you can do. You need to commit to getting a German driving license, and the first step to do that is to choose a good driving school. A lot of people get stuck into this habit of trying to find an English-speaking driving school, but in general, those driving schools can be more expensive and you don't really need an English-speaking driving school. The reason for this is that theory classes are usually in German in English-speaking driving schools as well. And the theory exam you can give in English, and you need to prepare mostly by yourself through mobile applications. And most importantly, the practical exam is always conducted in German by a German examiner. So it's actually good if you go to a German-speaking driving school because then you pick up vocabulary while you're learning driving. Also, I would recommend that the driving school that you choose is near to your house because you have to go to the driving school quite often for your theory classes and your practical classes. If the driving school is 1 hour away, it's going to be a big mental barrier in your head and prolong the process. Other things to keep in mind when choosing a driving school is the cost. You can usually check the cost on the website and they vary according to cities. But usually inside a city, the prices are more or less standard. Let's move on to step number 2, preparing your documents. Once you decide on a German driving school, they will give you a contract. This is called an Ausbildungsvertrag, and this is the first thing you need to collect before you can even apply for a driving license. Other documents that you need to prepare are your passport, an eye test, first aid exam, biometric photos, and you need to fill out a form for your local Führerscheinstelle that allows you to prepare and give your driving license exam. In general, for your eye exam, just go to a local Vielmann branch. They do the tests for free. And for your first aid course, just search Erste Hilfe course plus your city and you should find plenty. They usually cost 60 to 70 euros and take around a day. Alright, after collecting all of your documents, you're on to step 3, which is submitting your documents. This is important because incomplete or incorrect applications can extend your process of getting the driving license by months. In general, the Genehmigung or approval from the driving license authority can take months for it to come. So if you have something incorrect, then that extends that process by more months. Go to your driving school, ask them to look at your documents, and once they give a go-ahead, only then submit your documents. Also importantly, usually your driving schools allow you to start taking theory classes while your approval is still in the process. So practically, you don't have to wait months until the approval comes from the authorities. Okay, let's talk about theory lessons. Theory lessons are perhaps the most annoying part of the German driving exam. For first-timers, you need to take 14 theory classes in person, and they're usually 2 hours and very annoying. Usually they're also in German, so a lot of that knowledge goes over your head. But it's mandatory, so just do them. I also had to do it in the cold. Step number 5 is more interesting. It's preparing for the theory exam. The driving exam itself has 30 questions. These 30 questions come from a question bank of 1,000 questions that are publicly available. You can download any German driving license app and they should have all of those questions. They're annoying, have a lot of formulas, have a lot of tiny rules, but they are important information that you need to have in your head. It took me around 1 or 2 months to actually go through all of those questions and be comfortable, but that varies across from people depending on how much time and effort you put in. So I would recommend keep doing those questions until you feel comfortable and only then give your theory exam. As I mentioned before, the theory exam can be given in English, but the margin of failure is quite little, so it's better to be over-prepared than under-prepared. Once you pass the theory exam, you're on to step 6, which are practical lessons. These are perhaps the single most expensive part of the German driving license. Usually, driving lessons are 45 minutes, but driving schools combine these into 2 blocks, so it's 1 hour 30 minutes. And there are no fixed amount of lessons that you need to take. The only exceptions are mandatory special classes. These are 5 lessons on country roads, 4 lessons on the Autobahn, and 3 lessons at night. Theoretically, once you do the mandatory special classes, you can directly give the driving exam. But this depends on your instructor. Your instructor needs to give the go-ahead before you give the German driving exam. So it's good to build a nice relationship with them. And one more tip, be over-prepared for the driving exam, the practical driving exam, because a tiny mistake can lead to failure. Then you have to take more lessons, and that just adds hundreds of euros for no reason. Talk to your instructor, be comfortable with them. Usually instructors are very nice, so you can trust them. Once you're ready, you're on to step number 7, which is the practical exam. This is extremely nerve-wracking. I remember I failed my first driving exam. For a stupid reason, I was trying to show off by overtaking a cyclist on a curving road. The exam ended right there and then. And it was also embarrassing and cost me hundreds of euros. But looking back, I respect that the German system actually takes these mistakes so seriously, and that's why the roads here are so safe. But anyways, here's how the practical exam goes. On the day of the exam, there will be you, your driving instructor, and a person from TÜV who conducts the exam. The first part of the practical exam are verbal questions. The guy from TÜV will ask you questions about tire pressure, washer fluid, engine oil, and other random stuff. So you should be able to answer those questions in German. There are plenty of videos online that cover these topics. After that, you drive with that TÜV guy and your driving instructor for a while. Usually your instructor probably knows that guy, so they're going to be having a nice conversation. Ideally, your instructor is friends with the guy from the TÜV. And if that's the case, then the guy from TÜV is a bit easy on you. They're going to make you park, they're going to make you go to the Autobahn, they're going to make you do other crazy stuff. But at the end, once you pass the exam, they will give you a piece of paper. You take this piece of paper to the driving authority and your license will already be printed. And that's it. That's how you get your German driving license. It's one of the best things you can do. You're in Germany, the country with the Autobahn, the country with Mercedes, Audi, BMW. It's amazing to drive these cars and also experience the Autobahn, so you need to get it. But that's not the point of this video. The point of this video was to give you awareness about the exact steps to get your German driving license, and these 7 steps actually cover all of those things. On a closing note, what I'd like to say is that you need to commit to this process. This process takes months. For me, it took 2 years. But actually you can just do it in 6 months. I did a lot of mistakes. The commitment is very important because you commit time and money. These are thousands of euros we're talking about and months of effort. So you need to be clear why you're getting your driving license, and I'm going to be talking more about that in detail. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe, and see you in the next one.